Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Working Crass Podcast. This is Lauren.
Hey.
And I'm Joshua. Hey. And we have a very special episode for you today. You know, we usually talk about the horse shit going on in the world and in our lives, but we felt that our listeners might benefit from a little bit of HR training.
You guys need to be educated.
See, that's the thing, is like our 2 or 3 listeners that we have are bigoted, and they are...
Because if you're listening to Working Crass, we've been told that we're bullies, you're probably a bully too.
You really shouldn't be listening to our podcast. Like, it is a really bigoted thing to do, to listen to our podcast, and you need...
It is an act of violence to listen to our podcast.
Absolutely. You should go to jail for listening to our podcast. But Lauren recently went through an HR training. Do you want to explain what this is?
Yeah, so I had to do an HR training for work. I work at a college, and so this was given out to both students, but also I think faculty members as well, various levels of students, both undergrad and graduate, and it had different categories of the training. So it had a number of topics from sexual harassment. Then it had a section on diversity and inclusion. Very important. And then it also had a section on alcohol consumption and drug abuse, and then hazing, because it's for a university. So it covered all the bases.
Nice. Very nice. And I thought it would be fun because, you know, we have Lauren's answers to these. She was, going through them as she was completing this online training. And I thought it would be fun to go through it together on the podcast so that way our listeners can benefit from the training that HR wants to provide. Because here's the thing, is we find HR to be a very good department.
Very necessary.
Very necessary.
They're, they really add a lot.
Yeah.
To the working environment.
Now, if I asked you how you really feel about HR, how would you describe it?
Bloated and a waste of time.
A waste of time. Absolutely.
Most of what they do is a waste of time.
That's correct.
In very few instances are they useful. Yes. A lot of the stuff that they do is just an unnecessary waste of time to make them feel needed.
That's the problem, is like HR should be like a safeguard, so you don't need it that often. But, people who work in HR are attention seekers.
And they want to feel important.
So they add and add and add to their responsibilities to the point where it is cumbersome.
And it's just like government. As soon as government expands and gets bloated, things just become inefficient.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. This section is called Identities and Inclusion. Introduction. In this module, we'll think about our own identities and the ways society treats people based on their different identities. We'll then consider how we can each play a role in making our communities inclusive and welcome for everyone.
So this is the diversity and inclusion section of the training.
Important.
Very important.
Very important. Because when you're working, you need to start to also think about diversity and inclusion.
Well, actually, it's when you're working, instead of focusing on your work, you should be focused on the social identities of everyone around you at all times.
Absolutely. Right about a time you felt people perceived or treated you in a negative way due to any aspect of your identity.
Because, of course, feeling different and like you don't belong is not a human experience. This is only something that if you're from a protected class of people, this is what you should be focusing on. How you've been made to feel left out.
Yeah,
Don't focus on the times when people made you feel included. Focus on the negative.
Right. What did you write about a time that you felt perceived or that you felt people perceived or treated you in a negative way due to an aspect of your identity?
I wrote, I identify as someone who greatly dislikes HR assignments. This has led me to be perceived negatively, mainly by HR people.
Now, that's a great answer. That's a good answer. And I hope that they give you a golden star for this for this assignment.
Honestly, if there's one thing that I think really does define my identity, it's my aversion to doing HR training.
Absolutely. You're anti-HR.
hey, I will start a movement. If there's anything that got me out in the streets protesting and graffitiing walls,
abolish
it's
HR.
abolishing HR.
What do you not identify with? In order to become more aware of your own biases, you must acknowledge them. This requires honest self-reflection, which can be uncomfortable at times. Remember to lean into that discomfort. Discomfort is the first step to becoming an ally and creating a more inclusive campus community. If it was comfortable, there wouldn't be a need for such courses as this. That's my favorite, is like you have to justify the reason for this entire course.
Mm-hmm.
If everyone was comfortable, we wouldn't need courses like this. But guess what? We're all uncomfortable because courses like this seed that discomfort. Pick one of the scenarios below that you do not self-identify with and write down the first thoughts that come to your mind when you think of this scenario. All right, these are the examples. 2 men walking down the street holding hands. A Muslim woman wearing a hijab. A Mexican man working in a restaurant. A white man wearing a suit walking into a high-rise office building. A teacher using sign language to communicate with their mom. I'm sorry, a teenager. Did I say teenager or did I say teacher? A teenager using sign language to communicate with their mom. So here's what they want you to do here. They want you to look at examples like a Mexican man working in a restaurant and go, well, I don't know. What do they want you to do here? What do they want you to do? A Muslim woman wearing a hijab. Oh, I hope she doesn't get on my plane. Yee! It's not.
I think what they want you to do is write down the first racial slur that comes to your mind when we give you these descriptions of people.
Also, 2 men walking down the street holding hands. Oh, they must be gay. I hate the gays. Is that what they expect from people?
I think so. Well, see, here's the thing. They say that discomfort is the first step in becoming an ally. And I think that's just to justify that they feel uncomfortable.
Right.
I don't feel uncomfortable by any of these things. That's a them thing, not a me thing.
Right, exactly. They're saying, and they're saying that lean into your discomfort. They expect us to feel the way that they do. But whoever wrote this is like you're the one that has the problem.
Clearly, you have an issue.
Right,
You have an issue, and maybe you need a training. I don't have an issue with any of these people.
Right. 2 men walking down the street holding hands. Fine. A Muslim woman wearing a hijab. Fine. A Mexican man working in a restaurant.
Fine.
A white man wearing a suit walking into a high-rise office building. Fine. A teacher using sign language to communicate with their mom. Fine. Just people. People doing things. Also, is that part of their identity? I identify as 2 men walking down the street holding hands. I identify as a teenager using sign language to communicate with my mom. I don't know. It's very, very strange. But yeah, it does say a lot about the person writing it that they think you will have some kind of racist or homophobic or Islamophobic or whatever reaction to these scenarios, whereas you don't. Who is this for?
I was like, okay.
Yeah, it's very, very strange. Anyway, your answer.
I also don't know how this helps anything. Why does expressing, write down the first racial slur that comes to your mind when we give you this description, how does that solve anything? How does that help somebody alleviate any misinformation they might have about a group of people? Doesn't that just justify
No. Here's what it solves. By doing that, we're actually creating the racism that we're claiming is prevalent everywhere.
We're creating the racism so therefore we can fight against it so we can actually have a job to do.
Yes, because the biggest problem here
is that HR doesn't have enough things to do.
Exactly. What was your answer to this?
So the first one, 2 men walking down the street holding hands, and my first thought that I wrote down was I hope they're fast walkers because I have places to goddamn be. I hate being stuck behind people on the sidewalk. That's really my first thought.
Yeah.
And that would be my first thought with anybody walking down the street.
They better not be holding hands that are like, and they're taking up the entire, like when they hold hands, not just two men, anybody holding hands, any couple holding hands, or any just two people walking in the street. Maybe they don't know each other. When they are walking with no space to be like allowed on either side or between them,
And you can't get around. Oh, that.
And they're walking slowly.
That I have discomfort with.
Me, absolutely. And you got to like walk into the street to get around them. It's like, speed the fuck up. We got places to go.
Yeah, that's really my first thought.
And that's two men, two women, a man and a woman, whatever color skin, it doesn't matter. You can always be a slow idiot.
Yeah, slow walkers come in all colors
shapes and
sizes.
Yep. All right, what about a woman wearing a hijab?
I wrote, okay, period.
A Mexican man working in a restaurant?
I said that I need more information on this scenario because honestly, am I in a Mexican restaurant? I have a lot of questions. What job in the restaurant is this person doing? Are they the chef? Are they the server? Are they the owner of the restaurant, the busser, the hostess? I don't know. I need to know. Also, I really am wondering, how do I know this person is Mexican? Like, did he tell me? What was the sign? Was he like wearing a giant Mexican flag? Because I feel like that's a kind of a big assumption. And I guess in this like fake world, I just happen to know the exact Latin ethnicity of every person by looking at them.
Yes, absolutely.
And those are the thoughts that I have when I'm given that description.
It's like, what is this? What's the expected response to? This is the one that confuses me the most out of all of them. Like Mexican man working in a restaurant. I don't really know what the negative connotation is supposed to be for a Mexican guy working in a restaurant. I guess like maybe your first assumption is like, well, he's the janitor. Like it's like what is that? Like I don't understand.
I don't know.
And your question, am I in a Mexican restaurant? Like
because that would explain a lot. Like if I'm in a Mexican restaurant, then wouldn't that make sense?
Yes, but also, who cares if you're in a Panda Express and it's a Mexican guy working there?
Well, that also would make sense.
Exactly.
Based on all the Panda Expresses I've been to.
It's just I don't understand.
I don't get it either. I don't really see what the problem is. Like why that's supposed to make me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like.
Now, I would love to see a Mexican man working in like a hibachi grill and he's like chopping it up and he's like, for you, senor. He tosses it in your mouth. You're like, this is new. Sombreros for everyone. All right. White man wearing a suit walking into an office building. What was your response to that?
I said, again, I need more information on this scenario. Like, what kind of suit is he wearing? Does he work there? Do I care? Do I work there? Why am I following a random guy around? Is he an employee? Is he a client? Is he on his way to an interview? Is he the doorman of the building? Like, I don't know. I need more information.
Yeah, absolutely. White man wearing a suit walking into an office
That could be
building.
anything. That could be anything and anybody. I don't know, and I don't care.
Probably going to go shoot it up. Heck, that's the assumption.
Well, they didn't say teenager.
Probably going into that building to own slaves.
Yeah.
Because he's a white man. A teenager using sign language.
I wrote, okay. And then I wrote, ... Wait, why the hell am I looking at a teenager? Ew, am I a pedo in this scenario?
That is the correct answer. HR gives you another golden star.
Yeah, because they want to find out, like, if you're a pedo or
not. All right. Scenario number 1. You're fucking a kid.
Does this make you uncomfortable?
And with the new woke HR, they would be like, it better not.
Oh,
you're just a minor attracted person. You're not a pedo. Don't use that word.
Yeah, I'm probably going to get in trouble for it.
Using the word pedo?
Yeah. I'm gonna be
That's
like,
offensive language.
That's insensitive. That's insensitive to the people who want to touch children in their no-no parts.
We got to treat them equally.
You need to protect the feelings of the people who are trying to touch the children.
All right. Anyway. Biases. First thoughts. Now consider the thoughts on the previous question and reflect on the following questions. What were your first thoughts? Which they've already asked you. So answer that again. What your first thoughts? I'm sorry. Were your first thoughts positive or negative? Did your response reveal any possible implicit biases? What experiences in your own life may have caused you to develop these implicit biases? So this really does point to the fact that that's what they want you to do. They want you to give the most biased, racist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic, whatever,
Well, if
opinion. They
right.
they think that that's who you are.
Yes. Or like I think they assume that all, people from the protected classes, the protected social identities, the socially disadvantaged groups, they're all going to answer like the most positively for everything.
Right.
It's like this weird, like they have a very like binary thinking.
Absolutely.
About everything. Everything is positive, negative, black, white.
Yes, absolutely. What did you say?
I said, my first thoughts were neither positive nor negative. They were indifferent. And what led me to my indifference is that I'm not an asshole who's obsessed with categorizing people by their most superficial traits. And clearly, the people who made this activity have some implicit biases because they assume those descriptions would prime people. I lost my place here. Would prime people to respond in a particular way. Look inward, activity designers. Look inward.
So, I mean, you just started attacking the people who designed this.
I felt that was the best course of action because
so
I have been told that you're supposed to call out.
Oh, yeah.
Like you're supposed to, like, when you see injustice, you need to be, and you need to actively step in and intervene.
And
so that's
you're
what I
doing
was
the right
doing.
thing.
I was doing my duty.
Yeah.
I was not being silent because silence is violence.
Wow. You've grown into quite a young activist here. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you. I feel like the HR training is working.
Now, we need to move on to the impacts of alcohol consumption. Now, this is very important. They want you to take a moment to think about your alcohol consumption patterns. How often and how much do you drink? In what ways does drinking alcohol affect other aspects of your daily life? Have you ever experienced negative consequences, e.g. not achieving... What is e.g.?
Example. That means example.
But what is the G?
That's an abbreviation for example.
But what is G?
That is probably some Latin term.
But I've seen like EX. I've seen like...
EX is another abbreviation.
For example.
IE.
IE.
EG is just another one, and I think it's from some sort of like Latin phrase.
I see. Ergo?
You learned something new.
Is that it? Ergo?
Yeah, you might be right.
Not achieving your academic goals as a result of alcohol use. Now, I actually do think that this could potentially have the potential to be important because I think everyone our age and everyone younger than our age does like have an alcohol problem.
Oh,
yes.
Like
especially in America, I would say.
Especially among improvisers.
Oh, God. The improv community is full of just ridiculous alcoholics. That's why they buy into the woke crap so easily because they're fucking drunk all the time.
Because their judgments and rational thinking is dulled by the alcohol.
Absolutely. I feel like everyone we encounter has some level of alcoholism.
Yeah.
It's like...
and I feel like you and I are a little bit of outliers because we are both not real big drinkers.
Yeah.
We rarely drink. We'll have like one or two on occasion.
I would say like, I don't know, maybe like in college, my freshman year, I never had a drink. It was my sophomore year that I first had my first alcoholic beverage.
Oh, wow.
And even then I took it pretty easily. I got really into like rum and Coke and I would have that, every once in a while, every blue moon. But afterwards, like when I started my job as like a elementary school teacher, I did start drinking more, I think. And that was like when I started going to like the comedy club too. So the improvisers, the improv group, like,
they'll drive you to drink.
They'll drive you to drink for sure. No, like it's just like all they wanted to like meet up and do. Like that's the only place. Also dating. There was a big problem with like dating too, is the only place that girls wanted to meet up was like at a bar to get drinks or whatever, which seems dangerous to me.
Yeah. Well, I've never been a big drinker. I just don't like the feeling of being, I don't like the feeling of being out of control
Me too.
of like my own body or anything like
Yeah.
that. And I don't like having people take care of me. Like the thought of like, I'm going to get, too drunk to where I'm going to need somebody to help me makes me feel really uncomfortable. So it's just not my thing. I just don't really drink a lot.
Same here.
I have like one drink every once in a while.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. When we were doing like shows more often here too in Chicago, I felt like it was starting to pick up too. But like I just hit a point where I'm like, I don't want to, like, this is miserable. Like I don't feel good. I'm not even enjoying the drink. I drink and I get a headache like almost immediately.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's astounding to me how people our age, like that's all they do. That's all they want to do. That's like literally, and people I work with too. That's like, it's every like social event is based around how are we getting our drinks and how are we going to drink them. Like,
yeah. But here's my problem with this section of the training is this is for people, you know, presumably undergraduate, graduate students, faculty, intelligent people, and they watered down this, you know, part of the training to where it's like just so basic and banal, and I just feel like it's an insult to people's intelligence.
Yeah. Well, okay, so let's see here. Now that you've reflected on your own alcohol consumption and its impacts on your daily life and academics, do you feel there are any changes you should make in relation to your own alcohol consumption? What did you say, Lauren?
I said, no, there are no changes I should make, ... though this insipid activity is making me consider taking up the habit. Because at this point I was a little, more annoyed.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I do think it's important to like look inward at your own alcohol consumption and make sure that you're not, affecting your ability to function in a normal society, especially if you're like a parent of children. I know some people who are parents of children who drink ridiculously, also improvisers. But yeah, I mean, guys, just drink on occasion. Like you can't just constantly numb yourself all the time. But I get it. I have an addictive personality too, to other things, and I'm working on those as well. Now, bystander intervention and drug use. Imagine that your closest friend has been a long-time marijuana smoker. Probably not that hard for you to imagine. And they smoke every day after class, but it has never seemed to impact their life or performance in school. One day they mentioned to you that they've started taking prescription medication and that their new partner gave them. That's the prescription medication that their new partner gave them. You're aware of the potential issues with addiction that can result from the pills they're taking, but you're not sure if you should say something or if you should just wait to see if taking the pills becomes an issue. Reflect on the following questions to help you make your decision. What are the pros and cons of talking to your friend about your concerns? What are the pros and cons of not talking to your friend about your concerns? After reflecting on the pros and cons of each scenario, would you ultimately decide to talk to your friend about your concerns or not? Explain why you made your decision. So for me, like, I don't know, you have a friend who smokes a lot of weed, and then they say they started taking prescription medication that their new partner gave them. I guess I would like ask like, oh, interesting. Like, how often are you taking that? It also like depends on like how close this friend, like, I don't know. I don't really care about people that much. So it's like, I'll allow somebody.
Well, we're bullies, so we would say take more.
Yeah. I guess I would probably like allow a friend to do something bad for too long before it like became an issue.
Well,
but I'm not like one of those people that like, I don't like to intervene in situations. I'm more of like an individualist. Like, I'll worry about me. You worry about you. It's not my responsibility to take care of a grown adult.
Right.
Now, if this was my child or this was somebody else, this is somebody who I'm responsible for, then yes, I would take more of a responsible approach and, try to talk to them and ask them some questions like, how often are you taking this prescription medication? Is there a reason why you're taking it? If it's just recreationally, do you understand the risks of that? But for someone who's just another adult, and even if it's like a friend, I'm sorry, but that's their responsibility. It's not my responsibility to tell them what to do. And also, that can harm a friendship too, because you could be overstepping your boundaries and into a place where they're now uncomfortable. Now, I'm not saying that you should just let your friends kill themselves. If you're concerned about your friends, you should intervene at a certain point. But I am saying that it's not really always your responsibility to tell the people around you how to live their life.
Well, with addiction, like that never makes an addict do telling them what to do does not change an addict's behavior. It's only going to drive them to keep doing that thing. They have to come to wanting to change on their own terms.
Absolutely.
But my initial thought when I read this, it was like, okay, they smoke marijuana and then they start taking prescription medication. I don't know, do they live with chronic pain?
Right.
Maybe they need that. What do I?
Yeah.
But I also had some other issues with this question.
Well, what was your answer?
I said, really? We're resorting to the myth of marijuana being a gateway drug? Did I just re-enter the 1930s? Did the writers of Reefer Madness also write this stupid prompt? Because that was really what I took away at first, was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Does this just suggest that smoking marijuana will lead you to taking prescription pills?
Right.
Because I'm pretty sure the evidence is out on this, that the vast majority of people who smoke marijuana do not go on to do any harder substances.
Right.
And that the small percent of people who do, there's other circumstantial things going on in their lives that are leading them to continue to seek harder things.
Right. Absolutely.
It's not the marijuana itself.
Yeah.
But then I was like, fine, I'll try and answer this prompt the way I think it should be answered. And I think you should talk to your, voice your concerns if you have concerns, because the pros are that you get your concerns off your chest and you're looking out for your friend's well-being. And if they're really your friend, then there's really no cons to this, because they're going to forgive you for, voicing your opinions. They're not going to care that much in the long term.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, if they are really addicted and they have an addiction problem, then you have to let them make their own choices and come to wanting to change on their own terms.
Yep.
Because you can't control other people's behavior. I wrote, if it's truly an addiction problem, well, you can't force an addict to conform to your idea of proper social conduct. That's reality. If they want to make a change, they will arrive at the idea on their own terms. Just let them know that you're there for them.
Exactly. And that's what you should do as a friend. You're there for your friend if your friend is in need. But at the same time, you're not going to change an addict's mind.
Right. But maybe bully them just a little bit. That's
a little bit of bullying goes a long way.
Yeah, that's the Working Crass motto.
The Working Crass HR initiative, and that is, a little bullying goes a long way. A little name calling does a lot of work. Okay, I'll tell you that. Before we move on with this, I hope that our listeners are learning something.
Yeah, I hope you're getting educated, you dummies.
Dumb fucks. Before we get to the last couple parts of this, I do want to say that thank you. Thank you for listening to Working Crass Podcast. We really appreciate it. If you're listening to this episode, if you're watching it on YouTube, thank you. We are trying to grow this thing and trying to grow the amount of people who are listening to it.
Yep.
We like to goof, we like to ha-ha, and we like to make you laugh, and we want to do more of that. So the best way to support us is to go subscribe to us on YouTube. That is our YouTube page. If you're watching it right now, go ahead and click subscribe, click the notification bell. If you're listening to it, head to YouTube. You probably have the app on your phone. Go to our page, Working Crass Podcast. You can easily find it by looking us up. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave us a comment. If you have an article that you find you're like, oh, I want to hear what Working Crass Podcast would say about this. You might be a psychotic idiot, but also go ahead and send it to us in a comment and we'll watch it or listen to it or whatever.
Yeah, and if you don't subscribe, then we're going to report you to HR.
We will.
And we're going to force you to do 1,000 hours worth of HR trainings until your brain turns to mush.
And leave your answers to these HR questions in the comments. I'd be very interested to see,
we want to see how educated you are.
Yeah, absolutely. I also just, I want somebody to point out that they see a Mexican man working in a restaurant, and I want to see all the slurs in our comments section.
Yeah.
Because clearly that's your first thought. Obviously, that's everyone's first thought is just racial slurs. At least that's what HR is teaching us. All right, let's move on with this HR training here. So here's this was my favorite thing that you brought up to me.
This is the sexual harassment part of the training, and this
It still seems alcohol related, though.
It is a little alcohol related, but this section gave you a number of they would set up a scenario, and then you'd have to choose the correct option of how to respond, and they would give you the responses to choose from.
And if you selected incorrectly, they would tell you, correct?
Yes.
So you have to pick the right answer here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this isn't an open-ended question. There is a right answer and there are two wrong answers. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Here's the situation.
And if you pick the wrong answers, you will be sent to jail.
Yes, HR jail, which is just a talking to.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the situation. Your friend has been dancing and drinking for a while with a guy she's had a crush on, but just officially met tonight. She is really drunk and tells you that she's about to go home with him. You don't know him or his friends either. What might be the best way to respond to her? Choice 1. Nice. Have fun and be safe. Call me in the morning and let me know how it went. That sounds good to me. Choice 2. This is probably not a good idea, but if you're comfortable with him, it's up to you. Call me when you get there and let me know you made it okay. Or, which also, by the way, choice 2 sounds great to me too. As a matter of fact, if you're more concerned about your friend, choice 2, great option. Choice 3, going home with a guy when you're this drunk isn't a good idea. Let's get his number and you can call him tomorrow. Now, to me, choice 3 sounds a little bit like the bitch of a friend. You know, the friend who...
Okay, mom.
Exactly. Okay, mom. Like, going home with a guy when you're this drunk isn't a good idea. Let's get his number and you can call him tomorrow. I've never, ever told a friend, you can do this tomorrow. Like, tell them what they can and can't do.
Right.
Ever. I would never, I would tell my son or daughter what they can and can't do. Or if I'm a teacher, I would tell my student what they can and can't do. I would never tell a friend.
Tell another grown adult.
What they can and can't do. It's absurd. But
yeah, as a libertarian, I'm just completely against choice 3.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't in good conscience choose that one.
It's just, I can't even read it without the tone. Going home with a guy when you're that drunk isn't a good idea. Let's get his number and you can call him tomorrow. That's like the girl that does not get invited back to the party. That you're not going to be like, it doesn't matter what you say to this girl now or what you say to the girl that's going to go home with the guy. She's going to go home with the guy now that you've said that, and she's not going home with you. And you're not invited to the future outings because you've been a bitch that night.
Yeah.
A cock block.
Yeah. And also, why is the scenario, I feel like if they truly want to be, feminist thinkers,
yeah,
why is the scenario placed on, it's like the woman's responsibility? Why can't the guy say, hey, you might be, why isn't there an option for the guy should say, hey, I think you're a little too drunk, let's hang out tomorrow? Also,
the implication here is that the
guy is going to do something bad.
Yeah.
He could be a complete gentleman.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're making that assumption.
Exactly.
I don't know. I went with choice 2 because to me, that's an in-between. You voiced your concerns if you feel a little uneasy with it, but at the end of the day, they're a grown adult. They make their own decisions.
Yeah. I like this part of choice 2. It says, this is probably not a good idea, but if you're comfortable with him, it's up to you. Letting them know, hey, these are my concerns, like you said, but it's up to you. This is your decision. You're a grown adult. Yes. I've given my input, but it is your decision. Choice 3 is your decisions are actually my decision.
Mm-hmm.
So when you selected choice 2, you said?
I selected choice 2.
Yeah.
But apparently that is the wrong answer.
No.
Wrong.
HR says you should be the bitch.
HR says that the correct way to operate in society is for everybody to act like an overbearing mother.
Exactly. You need to tell your friend, let's get his number and you can call him tomorrow.
You're going to do what I want you to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not this person's mother.
I also hate that going home with a guy when you're this drunk isn't a good idea. I don't know. Going home with a guy when you're drunk sounds like a pretty good idea to me. Sounds like fun. Sounds like you might get to have sex, and sex is fun. Just saying. When did sex stop being fun?
Well, how do you know they're going to have sex? Maybe they just go over to his house and they eat like a basket of fries.
Yeah, they watch Netflix or whatever, hang out. She sleeps on the couch. She goes home. You know?
I don't know.
You don't really know the situation.
If it's one of my friends, I think they make good decisions, so they'll just have a good time.
But either way, going home with a guy when you're drunk sounds fun to me.
I mean, that's a rite of passage.
I'm just like, I don't... there is kind of a weird HR woke-ish thing about sex, that sex is inherently bad. It's like a kind of a fear of sex often, that like sex, any situation where sex might, it's almost kind of like evangelical Christian like has kind of come back a bit, where like, no, you must not have sex, you must abstain from sex. This is kind of the same thing, right? Don't go home with that guy when you're drunk. He might try to have sex with you. It's like, what if she wants to have sex? Not very woke of you to keep her from, going out and exploring her sexuality.
Right. This might be the time where she discovers that she's like a pan-gendered unicorn.
Well, no, because she's drunk, so she doesn't have any ability to, say yes or no, or to be able to consent to sex. It's like,
yes, because when you're drunk, you have no free will.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what they're suggesting.
Yeah. Also, I guess, it's not worth talking about, your option to drink or not, or to become drunk or not.
Yeah.
That's not worth a discussion.
Yeah.
It's the actions that you're taking when you're drunk.
Yeah.
It's just a given that you should get drunk.
Everybody behaves differently when they're drunk. Some people can function perfectly fine. Other people cannot.
Yeah.
They cannot. Like, if you're incoherent and your eyes can barely open and you can't really move and you're like, I'm gonna go home with
I'm going home with Billy.
Yeah, then maybe your friend should just be like, yeah, no, I don't think you actually want that. You're just drunk. Let's get home. That would be perfectly fine to intervene.
Yeah. But
if you're drunk and like you're more high functioning, like,
although again, if I was this girl's friend and she was like, I'm going with Billy, I'd be like, okay, fine, Billy can handle you, but I don't want to deal with you tonight. You're not throwing up in my car. You're gonna throw up at my place. Go throw up at Billy's place.
Yeah, I don't like the idea that this turns everybody into like, we should be parenting each other. It's like, no, we should let adults make their own decisions and, live their lives and experience what they experience on their own terms. I don't know. That might be too radical.
That's too radical.
That's too radical. Too revolutionary.
Yep, that's too radical. All right. So this is the last portion of this training.
Hazing.
And congratulations to those of you who are listening. You've made it through the HR training.
You've made it. You're a much smarter person. You know how to intervene now.
You're more able to make these decisions out in the real world. Yeah. So congratulations.
You're able to confront your own whiteness or your own non-whiteness.
You're able to confront your best friend and be their mom and tell them what to do.
Yeah, you can spank their butts.
No, let's talk about hazing. Hazing is an important, is a big thing in college.
Yes. So this section was on hazing.
Yeah, it's a really big thing in college in the 80s, but not anymore. And
no, I think it probably still exists.
Yeah, probably.
I think hazing definitely exists on college campuses.
Yeah. I guess I'll talk a little bit about this real quick, though. The Greek life stuff, I was never a part of a fraternity. I was definitely never part of a sorority. And I had a lot of friends that were, and we used to just shit on them constantly. Me and my friend who did not sign up for any of these, because we're like, we're already friends with all of you. Like, why would we pay to also be friends with you? Like, we're cool. Like, we don't need to pay for friends. Like, we're cool. And even if we didn't have those friends, like, you're all losers. Like, I don't want you as a friend. Like, it doesn't.
No, Joshua, it's about like networking opportunities.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's about drinking and about paying for fucking friends.
Yes, it's about paying so you can have access to social events.
Exactly.
That's it.
And if you have to be in a fraternity for the for the networking opportunities for your job, then you're also a loser. Like, if the only way you can get a job is through your frat friend, you're a fucking loser. Yeah, I got this job from my brother. Yeah, it's just weird. Because I was a music major in school, and so the music fraternities, a lot of them would sing. They would have like these songs that they would like get together and sing, like all of the 4-part harmony choral arrangements of these songs. And so one of somebody who was in the fraternity would have their like senior recital, and then afterwards they'd all group together and like sing a song. And me and my friends that weren't in the fraternity would just stand by and be like, "Gay." You're singing songs, losers. Anyway, it always just seems so lame. And then we had one friend who was in one of these, and he would tell us, yeah, there's we would ask, are there secrets that you're not allowed to tell us, that like they're allowed to know? And he's like, yes. And it's a brotherhood. I'm not going to tell you what it is. And we just tell us. It's stupid. It's so lame. Like, just tell us. It's stupid that you have a secret with all your boyfriends. Tell us your secret, you stupid idiot. And he would always get so defensive. No, it's my secret. It's for me and my brothers. It's for me and my fraternity brothers. It's like, you're gay. Write about a time when you were afraid to do something because you felt it was not right, but did it anyway for the acceptance or admiration of others. Consider the following questions as you write about your experience. Why did you take this action? Describe the tension between the risks and rewards. Were there any negative consequences as a result of your action? If not, could there have been negative consequences? Were those negative consequences worth the acceptance or admiration of others? Or do you regret the decision that you made? Okay, already too many questions. Like, why do there need to be 6 questions? All of these things have 6 questions in a row that you have to answer. So a time you were afraid to do something, you felt it was not right, but you did it anyway for the acceptance or admiration of others. I'd say starting a podcast. I was like, I don't know. Everyone has a podcast. How are we even going to get listeners? We're not like famous comedians. We don't even do that much comedy stuff in Chicago anymore.
But we need admiration.
And acceptance of others. So I guess we'll start one.
We need to feed our egos. We like the sounds of our own voices.
Were there any negative consequences as a result of your action? Well, we got some videos taken off of TikTok. I can't promote anything on Instagram.
Bullies. We're shadow banned.
Yeah.
So I guess you could say that there have been some negatives.
I guess so.
Although some people might think those are positives. I'm a glasses half full kind of gal.
Well, okay, what was your answer to this?
My answer to this, I will read it to you. One time, I was forced to complete an HR assignment that I thought was a very big waste of time, but I did it anyway, so the people in HR would feel good about themselves and accept my assignment. I took this action because I was truly forced to. I definitely have regrets about doing it. If only I was a stronger person.
And that's the right answer.
Because truly, if you want to know what hazing feels like, take an HR training.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. Get involved in any kind of HR situation or, get involved in, woke activism. There's plenty of hazing there too.
Lots of hazing.
Wow. I've learned so much in this training that I think that I'm going to pick up a sign and go to a protest tomorrow. I've learned so much in this training that I think I'm going to go harass a Mexican man working in a restaurant this week. As soon as I see... I'm glad that I've recognized my own biases, Because before I would see a Mexican guy working in a restaurant and I'd just go, oh, he works here, no big deal. I can't even tell that he's Mexican or not. So whatever. Now I'm going to go, hola, senor. Got any quesadillas?
Oh, my.
Can I get a free sombrero?
And they're like, no, sir, this is a Panda Express.
Oh, man. I learned how to do this in an HR assignment. I'm just trying to be accepting of others. I'm just trying to be mindful of diversity and inclusion, man. Come on, man. All right. Well, what did you learn?
I learned that I need to write HR up for hazing and for not doing enough.
Yeah.
Until the HR department is actively adopting an entire Black family, I really don't think that they're living up to what they preach. So I think that I'm really going to be an active intervener and do my part to call out the injustice that I see that HR is committing.
I've always thought that too. Like, you're not really an activist unless you adopt a Black family and let them live in your home.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm not an activist.
Yeah, exactly. Me neither.
I learned so much. I learned so much in this that I don't even know if I can pick one thing. I learned that I should hate two men holding hands and walking down the street. That
you should feel discomfort by that.
I should feel discomfort
apparently.
and uncomfortable. I should be looking around and seeing the ways that people are different from me and feeling discomfort and hatred for those people.
Mm-hmm. And really focusing on that at all times of the day instead of doing whatever it is you should be doing otherwise.
Yes, I should lean into the discomfort. Right? And that's what they said. I should feel discomfort, and then I should lean into it.
You should wrap your body in it like a warm blanket. you should let it wash over your entire body till it radiates from the inside. And then you pick up a tiki torch and you march down the street.
Yep. You lean into it. You buy some tiki torches. You head to Charlottesville. Wow. Well, this was a blast. Hope you learned something. Thanks for listening to Working Crass Podcast. Go subscribe to our YouTube, please, and see you next week.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.